I'm not an avid gambler. First of all, I just want to say that first. Do not gamble. Hopefully, you're not addicted to gambling. If you are, shame, shame, shame. But I do like blackjack. I do like going to the casino here and there, and playing some cards. Am I the best at it? No, but I do get lucky a few times out of the year. So asking questions like this are extremely fun to me, just in understanding probabilities, understanding kind of like my chances. I've thrown a few blackjack questions at it already, or a few like gambling questions at it already. And again, it thinks through it, and I kind of enjoy that. So, anyways, besides that, what's going on, everybody? Hopefully, I am not too late when it comes to the DeepSeek news and putting out some content about it and my own perspectives on it. But DeepSeek has been pretty much all the rage for the past 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, I guess. And the funny part is DeepSeek actually has been available for a while. Like, I guess if you're in kind of the AI realm or AI space, you've seen DeepSeek in the Olama selection for at least maybe more than a week or two, more than 2 weeks. It's had to be either a little bit less than a month. I know it was here since the beginning of January, I think. But what really makes DeepSeek important is that it is, after it kind of went through all the benchmark tests, right? It is pretty much able to rival OpenAI's O1, O3 models. Not only rival, but also be half the cost, and also to a degree free. You can install DeepSeek locally to your PC. You don't have to go to the web-based version and use it, or download the app from the App Store. I have DeepSeek currently installed on my PC locally. I'll run through how to do that quickly in this video, so that you guys can maybe do the same. I am kind of weary on using the chat web-based version of DeepSeek, as well as I'm kind of weary on downloading it from the App Store. I have heard the rumors and the conspiracy theories, and I will say they do kind of like put me on edge when it comes to like what data I'm inputting into DeepSeek, what data it's kind of being taken from me. I've heard rumors that like the hedge fund that DeepSeek came out of could be part of like some type of CCP conspiracy or something, kind of like the same thing they do with TikTok supposedly, where the CCP kind of had some type of control or had some type of hands in it. Either way, my whole shtick of trying to not be involved in those kind of conspiracy theories is to just download it locally to my own PC and use it the way I see fit. But today we're going to talk about, number one, how to install, what's the easiest way to install Olama to your PC is locally, if you don't want to use the chat-based, web-based kind of version, or have the API, or not the API, I'm sorry, the or I guess, yeah, or use the API, or even use I think there's an app version now in the app stores. We'll run through how to kind of download it locally to your PC using Olama. Then we're also going to kind of run through what makes DeepSeek, number one, important, and number two, different. If those topics sound like something that piques your interest, please make sure you subscribe. Please make sure you like. Make sure you dislike if you see fit. All I ask is that if you do dislike, provide some context, feedback, suggestions, critique. I'm open to it. I swear it won't hurt my feelings. We want to provide you the best content that we can, and kind of keep you aware of what's happening in the AI space, and make sure that you're educated on this. So, what makes DeepSeek different from a lot of these other large language models and how they're trained? There's talk that DeepSeek was pretty much trained on using OpenAI's GPT models. Whether there's like hardcore proof and whether someone has came out and said, yeah, it's 100% correct. I haven't seen it. I haven't heard about it. I've read a few articles. Nothing is like cemented yet. But basically, they just had their model DeepSeek kind of query, um, the GPT model a bunch of times to the point where it can kind of train itself uh, and use kind of the um, I guess the GPT model as the teacher and DeepSeek being the student until DeepSeek being the student was able to rival the teacher. But also, what makes it important is this concept of group relative policy optimization. I don't think this is new. I think it's been here for a while. I've read some papers on it before. I've never used it myself. This is kind of the first time I'm hearing it being used um, in like large scale LLM models as popular as like OpenAI or DeepSeek. But group learning. GRPO allows AI agents to learn by comparing their performance within the group. Relative comparison. Agents assess their success relative to their peers, not just individually. So they're kind of able, these agents are kind of able to differentiate whether they're succeeding or not, comparing themselves to other agents. Performance insights. This comparison helps agents identify strengths and weaknesses. Efficiency. By focusing on relative performance, agents improve efficiently. Variance reduction. GRPO reduces performance variability among agents in the group. No value network dependency. Unlike traditional methods, GRPO doesn't rely on value networks. So basically, GRPO is a way to have agents learn from each other, in a summary. Very efficient way to do it rather than you kind of like spending, which I guess not supposedly, it's taken billions of dollars to train the GPT models, which I don't think it's far-fetched. I don't know if, I think the rumor number is like they spent 6 million to train their DeepSeek model. Personally, I don't 100% believe that. I'm sure there's probably a bit more cash flow into this versus just 6 million. 6 million just sounds too low, in my opinion. Not saying it's not possible, but 6 million versus where we are right now when it comes to AI landscapes, and then going from like doing, especially in a short amount of time, right? It's 2025 now. AI, as far as what it is now, has only been kind of popping for 3 years, I guess, 2 years, 2.5, something like that. To go from like dumping billions and billions and billions of dollars into AI to train it, to then kind of go from dumping billions to then dropping all the way down to like, oh no, it only takes 6 million, and then also having that $6 million model also be able to rival like top models. I don't know. It just seems kind of far-fetched, but I could be wrong. I'm open to being wrong. That's fine with me. But the GRPO policy, GRPO policy, group relative policy optimization, definitely makes DeepSeek important in that aspect when it comes to getting these models to learn. What you will see in the Ollama, when we're using Ollama to download DeepSeek, is chain of thought. I think chain of thought is super cool because you're able to see step-by-step reasoning, breaks complex problems into smaller logical steps. You're able to see the model actually reason. I know we're trying to stay away from the word thinking when it comes to AI, but more or less it is thinking. You can kind of see it reason, you can kind of see it think by itself to get to a conclusion. There's a logical flow. Each step builds upon the previous one, creating a logical chain. Error identification helps identify potential errors or gaps in reasoning systematically. Enhanced understanding ensures all aspects of a problem are considered for better understanding. Useful in various fields. Mathematics, computer science, decision making. Personally, I actually read a quote recently, like this decision making process. I've read somewhere that they're using a lot of like O1, O3 models to make like management decisions. And I read a quote fairly, I think it was today, where it's like, um, AI cannot be held responsible. AI objectively can't be held responsible, right? When making management decisions because it's computerized, it's an AI. Like you can't hold a machine responsible for legitimately anything other than like I guess whoever kind of programmatically created it. Therefore, management decisions should only be not delegated, but management decisions should only be handled by humans, right? If you're a CEO, um, and you're kind of looking to figure out like whether to do layoffs, whether to pivot, whether to outsource, right? Going to a LLM to derive an answer is not a good idea. It can help you think. It can help you maybe uh, think through different scenarios, think through different options. But if you're going to objectively try to get an answer from AI as to what to do next, it's never a good idea because as a CEO, as a founder, you can't then go, well, the AI told me. You're going to look like an idiot, to say the least. Um, but yeah, when it comes to computer science, though, when it comes to mathematics, hardcore sciences, I would even argue, like in the kind of research realm, I would 100% go with like these chain of thought reasoning models. Last but not least, I think is the coolest part, which is distillation. This is kind of what I was saying in the beginning of how they kind of possibly, right, trained their DeepSeek model and kind of used GPT as that teacher. GPT specifically, maybe other models too, but I think the headline was on GPT as that teacher, to teach kind of DeepSeek how to operate or how to make sense of the world, right? Allowed DeepSeek to ask as many questions as it could, um, to understand the world that it's in. So distillation is when a larger model, um, yeah, the teacher model, I'm sorry, teacher model, a larger model, more complex model is trained first. The teacher model generates output probabilities, soft targets for each class, but then there's a student model. A smaller, more efficient model is trained using these soft targets. Let's just to picture it, GPT possibly is this teacher, or let's just say, let's not even kind of add more fuel to the fire when it comes to like this conversation of DeepSeek and GPT, but let's just any large model that you can think of, any large language model that you can think of, is basically teaching a smaller model how to operate. There's a knowledge transfer where the student model learns to mimic the teacher's model's behavior. You see where I'm kind of getting at? Like DeepSeek uh, I mean, I think there's times where even like there's people having inputs into DeepSeek, and even then, like DeepSeek was when they would ask like who you are or who are you, right? To DeepSeek, who are you? DeepSeek would say I'm ChatGPT 4.0, or I'm using the ChatGPT. I am the ChatGPT 4.0 model, because there's the idea that not the idea, but there's the notion that all of DeepSeek's knowledge came from GPT 4.0, maybe even O1, and it performed at such a high level and learned at such a high level that now it's rivaling uh, 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 the O1 models from OpenAI. So like with a mix of distillation plus the GRPO, the group relative policy optimization, you can create a pretty powerful model with half the cost. And I have a feeling that down the road, I was reading a paper maybe last week about like the idea of smaller language models, where like we won't really, for a lot of stuff, we won't really need like the actual large language models unless there's a larger initiatives. But what's going to happen is over time, these, like GPT-4o mini models, these mini smaller models will become more and more popular. I would say these mini models will become more and more popular for like chatbots, for simple Q&A, maybe even smaller models for RAG, where these large language models will be dedicated to things that do require a lot of, or to the equivalent of like a lot of human brain power, computational tasks, mathematical tasks, uh, rigorous research tasks, stuff like that. That's where like those smaller, easier to train models that you can like perform distillation on will be highly, highly useful. Same thing where GRPO could be highly, highly useful in training these models for it to kind of learn continuously and become better and better from its performance of across other models and agents. The difference between the student model's outputs and the soft targets is minimized using a loss function. The student model requires less computational power and memory. Faster inference times are achieved with the smaller model. Advanced AI capabilities become more accessible and practical for various use cases. Now, I am someone who will champion open source through and through to the end of time. Um, so I'm honestly, I'm not mad that DeepSeek uh, occurred. I think it's good. I think there kind of needed to be a earthquake that needed to happen to kind of scare the big top three like OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google to kind of like really start kind of getting them shaking in their boots, I guess, and kind of really started like anytime there's faster or every time there's like good competition, it only makes innovation that much better for the end user. That's the way I see it. Now, granted, like sure, I'm sure that there's like OpenAI founders, CEOs, board members, blah blah blah. They're kind of like worried, and kind of like we poured so much money into these models. I think what Donald Trump somewhere was like Donald Trump, and I think some other investors were like, oh, here's 500 billion we're gonna pour into AI, and so like you take a look at this again, reading off of headlines, right? In clickbait, I guess. Um, I'm sure the government is probably looking at OpenAI. The U.S. government's looking at OpenAI like, we just gave you 500 billion, and China learned to do it for 6 million, supposedly. It kind of reminded me of like if you've not to get too nerdy, if you've seen the first Iron Man, right? There was this scene where Iron Man was taken by terrorists and was able to build a suit out of like kind of junk that he was able to find and just be really resourceful. And then I forgot the antagonist name in that movie or the villain in that movie, but he was like Tony Stark was able to do this with scraps. Like I'm sure that's the government where like the government is probably like, hey, China was kind of able to do this with less. How come we can't do that? So I'm wondering kind of how that will turn out in the end when it comes to understanding how to maneuver like in this whole AI thing. And I believe that this will only encourage other startups, smaller startups, maybe including Granularity, to be like, hey, that's not a bad idea to kind of build a model for cheap, right? Especially like when you combine distillation with group policy. It's not a bad idea. But anyways, that's the top three things I believe make DeepSeek really important, and is really shaking up the AI world. I'm enjoying it. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're not getting worried or scared. Look at it as innovation will fast forward in this year. The year just started. Innovation is definitely going to fast forward for a while now. At first, I thought AI was kind of becoming stagnant, but this threw a wrench into the entire gear, and I'm happy for it, and I'm definitely here for it. Anyways, that was my soapbox speech. Hope you enjoyed it, or you could possibly just tell me to shut up, whichever one. But let's jump into how to download DeepSeek to your own PC. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to dislike. If you do dislike, make sure you leave feedback. Make sure you leave suggestions. Make sure you leave comments. We want to read them. Let's jump in. So we're going to use Ollama for this. Now, Ollama has a bunch of models. DeepSeek was here for a while. I just never really, I saw it, but didn't think much of it, I guess. Yeah, it's been here for a little bit. So already in the kind of description, DeepSeek's first generation of reasoning models with comparable performance to OpenAI O1, including 6 dense models distilled from Deepseek-R1 based on Llama and Quen. So what we are going to do is you want to basically copy and paste Ollama run Deepseek-R1. It's going to pull the manifest. Let me kind of bring the command prompt over here. I am using Anaconda for this. So make sure you copy, boom, bring it back up. There is other models. There is the R1 671 billion parameter. I'm using the 7 billion, I think. Yeah, 7 billion. There is the 7 billion, 8 billion, 14 billion, 32 billion, 70 billion. And here you can see kind of the benchmarks, right? Let me kind of zoom in. Where for the AMI 2024, 79.8, higher performance than OpenAI O1. Code Forces, this is kind of one that I've been really paying attention to. 96.3 compared to the 96.6 with O1. Sure, it might not be exact, but it's damn near catching up. And this is the 32. That kind of looks like it's lower. So I think this also goes to show V3. Yeah, this also goes to show again, like you can create a cheaper model, a smaller model that could have just as good or better performance as like the top models out there. GPQA Diamond, I'm not sure what benchmark that is, but 71.5, 75.7 compared to OpenAI O1. This is DeepSeek, this is OpenAI O1. Math, 97.3 compared to 96.4 from OpenAI O1. Software engineering, bench, verified, blah, blah. 1% higher than OpenAI O1. So again, like if you're looking for a cheaper option, I love OpenAI, but I'm definitely not loyal to OpenAI. I am not sponsored by OpenAI. They're definitely not paying me. So in that case, like, look, if I were you and I need a high performing model, I am definitely going to go to DeepSeek. I know, I do believe like there's going to be like, I was telling somebody recently about like what I believe the future of AI would be in terms of like all these models that are popping up. And I view it as cars, right? Like there's different types of brands of cars. Some of these cars are more durable. Some of these cars are more efficient. Some of these cars are faster. Some of these cars are just straight up crappy. But they all do the basic premise of just driving. Like you are able to drive them. So just like with AI, like some models are very fast, some models are very efficient, some models are very durable where you can throw anything and everything at them, and they'll still be performing at a high level. But they still do the same concept of input and generating an output. You get what I'm saying? So Same thing with like phone brands. Like there's dedicated like, and even then like there's gonna be dedicated like, just like how there's dedicated like people who are for Apple. There's dedicated who are team Samsung, maybe team Google Pixel. I don't know if that's even like in the conversation, but um, either way, whatever team you're on, um, all the models do the same thing in terms of taking an input and generating an output. That's the way I view it. But anyways, so first thing you're going to do, like I did, copy and pasted the Llama Run Deepseek-R1, 7 billion here. You're going to have that there. Then it's easy. Just hit enter. It's going to pull the manifest. You're going to see it in a bit. It does, again, depending on like the parameters you build. Oh yeah, I forgot. I think I already have it installed. But if you do have it already installed, or if you don't have it already, so I'm sorry, it'll pull the manifest first. Then it will give you the ability to run a question, run whatever, so forth and so on. But it's going to pull the manifest first when you use Llama, if you're using it for the first time. Now, let's throw a complex question at it. I'm going to throw a probability question at it. I'm a huge fan of statistics, been a huge fan of statistics since 10th grade of high school in the US. Not a huge fan of calc, but statistics is my thing. Anyways, I want to throw a probability theory question at it. So if two fair dice are rolled, what is the probability that the sum of the numbers shown is 7? Now, I'm also a huge fan of blackjack. I love probabilities. I'm not an avid gambler, first of all. I just want to say that first. Do not gamble. Hopefully you're not addicted to gambling. If you are, shame. But I do like blackjack. I do like going to the casino here and there, and playing some cards. Am I the best at it? No, but I do get lucky a few times out of the year. So asking questions like this are extremely fun to me, just in understanding probabilities, understanding kind of like my chances. I've thrown a few blackjack questions at it already, or a few like gambling questions at it already. And again, it thinks through it, and I kind of enjoy that. So anyways, besides that, let me kind of hit enter and just stop talking and let you see what I'm talking about. So as you can already see, the label is think. Okay, so I need to figure out the probability that when I roll two fair dice, the sum of the numbers shown is 7. Let me think about this step by step. And as you can see, it goes through it step by step, saying first, I remember that each die has 6 faces. So it thinks through this situation to understand how to solve it. I enjoy that. I think that's super cool. Also, it gives you kind of the ability to, there was something in the past, right? And I don't know if it's still even that popular now, of explainable AI. Using or having AI kind of explain its thought process of how it came to be or how it came to that answer. This is a great example of explainable AI through a reasoning model where you're able to see how it thinks and what it comes up with in real time. And then you as the user, I'm a firm believer in never taking AI for face value. I am someone who believes in like, if you are going to use AI, it's not always going to be correct. It's not an oracle. It is not, is it benevolent or omnipotent? I can't remember. It's not either, actually. Whether it's benevolent or omnipotent, it doesn't know everything. My advice is to make sure the math is correct. Make sure the sources are correct before you take it for face value. But anyways, let's go back to it and see kind of what it's doing. So similarly, the first die showing, so as you can see, okay, when the first dice roll, it shows a 1, blah, 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 to be 7, it would show a 6, Next, so the first die is 2, then the second die needs to be, let me calculate. I like that. Next, if the first die is 2, then the second die needs to be ... Let me calculate. 7 minus 2 is 5, so it has to roll a 5. That gives another pair, 2, 5. Is it weird that I'm kind of like enjoying this? Like, I don't know, it kind of feels like I'm watching, I don't know. I'm kind of enjoying watching it think through this thing and understand how to come to a conclusion. So the number, therefore, I think these 6 are the only combination where 2 dice sum to 7. So the number of favorable outcomes is 6, and the total number of possible outcomes is 36. The probability should be divided by 30. So the probability should be 6 divided by 36. Wait, hold on. Let me make sure that's correct. 6 over 36 simplifies down, right? Let's divide the numerator. Let's divide numerator and denominator by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 36 divided by 6 is 6. So the simplified probability is 1/6. Let's see, how do they add up? Sum of 2, only one combination. Sum of 3, sum of 4, sum of 5, sum of 6, 5 combinations. 1, 5, 2, 4, 3, 3, 4, 2, 5, 1. I wonder it's going to run through. Okay, I see. Then the pattern continues, blah, blah, blah. It's doing way more thinking than I expected. I'm not going to lie. I didn't expect it to run through all sums. So that seems to measure for each sum. It's mirrored on both ends, but focusing back on the sum of 7, which has 6 possible combinations as we determined earlier. Therefore, given there are 36 total outcomes and 6 favorable ones, it does seem that the probability is 6 over 36, or simplified 1/6. So I think that's correct. Alternatively, if I use probability rule, be the same sum power each favorable outcome. I'm not gonna lie, I may kind of have to come back to you guys when this is completed. Once it's done, I swear I'll pop right back up. Okay, so I'm back and I'm kind of excited. I hope you are. So I did let it run for a while, and it finally came to a final answer. So it actually thought through a lot more than I expected, and I noticed that it was really going back and forth with itself. For example, there was these times where, alternatively, like here, if I use a probability rules since each if I use probability rules since each die roll is independent, the probability of rolling a specific number on one die doesn't affect the other. So perhaps we can calculate it using the same probability addition. Wait, for getting a sum of 7, which requires different combinations, 1, 6, 2, 5, etc., as before, the probability would be the same, the sum of probabilities of each favorable outcome. Each of these 6 outcomes has a probability of 1/36. 1/36. So adding them up gives probability equals number of desired outcomes / total outcomes, which is again 6 times 1/36 equals 6 over 36 equals 1/6. Again, like it even went through these. Wait, another idea is there is a formulaic approach. Or is there a formulaic approach? Because sometimes in probability problems, especially combinatorics ones, you can use combinations or permutations without having to list everything out. Super cool. And it came to the final answer of the probability that the sum of the numbers shown is 7 is 7 boxed defrac. I don't know how to kind of read this. To determine the probability the sum of the numbers shown when 2/3 die are rolled is 7, we start by noting that each die has 6 faces, resulting in a total of 6 times 6 equals 36 possible outcomes. Next, we identify the pairs of numbers in the 2 dice that add up to 7. These pairs 1, 6, 2, 5, 3, 4, 4, 3, 5, 2, 6, 1. There are 6 favorable outcomes. The probability is calculated by dividing the number of favorable outcomes by the total number of possible outcomes. Blah blah blah. Fraction, text, number of favorable outcomes. Oh, I see. Probability equals number of favorable outcomes times total number of possible outcomes equals fraction 6/36 equaling or simplified to 1/6. Thus, the probability that the sum of the numbers shown is 7 is boxed d frac. I'm guessing this might be 1/6 or something like that. I'm not sure. But either way, right, you can see how far it goes to think through a problem, especially something as complex as this. So anyways, if you enjoy this video, please make sure you subscribe. Please make sure you like. Please make sure you dislike even. If you do dislike, all I ask is that you leave comments, leave suggestions, leave feedback. Criticism is okay. I can handle it, I promise. So that we can kind of provide to you the best content that we can and to make sure that we make your AI journey as smooth as possible. And with that, bye-bye.